Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something that's absolutely essential for any university student, really mastering your academic tone. We're going to unlock the power of these little words called modal verbs to make your writing sound way more nuanced, professional, and honestly, just more persuasive. So let's get right into it.
Have you ever had that feeling? You're writing an essay and you worry that your arguments are just coming across as way too aggressive or absolute? Or maybe the opposite, that they sound kind of weak, like you don't really have any confidence in what you're saying? Yeah, finding that perfect balance is a super common struggle, especially in academic writing where precision is just everything. If that sounds familiar, you are in the right place.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why getting the academic tone right can be so tricky. Then, I'll introduce you to your new secret weapon, modal verbs. From there, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to use them to talk about how likely something is, how to make strong recommendations, and finally, how to pull it all together in your conclusions. Okay, so let's dig into that core issue first. Why is it that being 100% certain and making these absolute claims, why can that actually make your academic writing weaker instead of stronger? It seems a little counterintuitive, right? Well, here's the thing. Academic work is really more of a conversation than it is a series of final declarations. Knowledge is always evolving, right? And your writing has to reflect that reality. You're not just stating facts, you're building an argument based on evidence. And that means you have to show your reasoning, not just shout about a conclusion you think is unshakable. So instead of just saying something is true, really sophisticated academic writing does all of these things. You find yourself suggesting possibilities, you're predicting potential outcomes, you're evaluating evidence, and you're recommending action. And every single one of these tasks requires a different level of certainty. And that, right there, is where a very special set of tools comes into play. And this, my friends, brings us to the solution. Your secret weapon for getting that perfect, controlled, sophisticated tone is a small but incredibly mighty group of words, modal verbs. So, what are they exactly? Well, you can think of modal auxiliary verbs as helping verbs that kind of work alongside the main verb in your sentence to add all these different shades of meaning. They are like the little dials you turn to adjust things like likelihood, obligation, ability, or even permission in all of your claims. Now, these are the heavy hitters we're going to focus on today. May, might, could, should, must, and will. Now, while we're really zoning in on how to use these for things like likelihood and making recommendations, just remember the whole family is actually bigger. It includes words like can to show ability or ought to for moral obligation. The point is, you've seen these words a million times, but today we're going to learn how to use them with almost surgical precision. Getting these right can be the difference between a pretty good argument and a truly great one. All right, let's get practical. The first major category we're tackling is using modals to express how likely something is, all the way from just a faint possibility to a near certainty. So, on the weaker end of that spectrum, we've got may, might, and could. These are your go-to words when you're exploring a new hypothesis, or you're trying to interpret some data cautiously. Now, for a stronger probability, one that's based on some solid evidence, you'd use should. For example, you might write, based on previous studies, the policy should increase efficiency. See that? It's not a guarantee, but it's a very strong logical expectation. Okay, now let's crank up the certainty. Here we have must and will, but listen up because they do really different jobs. Use must when you're making a strong logical deduction based on the evidence that's right there in front of you. You use will when you're making a strong prediction about something that's going to happen in the future. Just a little word of caution here. It's easy to overuse will, and it can make you sound too absolute, so you always want to use it carefully. And this table right here, well, it really lays it all out for you beautifully. Seriously, think of this as your cheat sheet. You've got weak possibility, you've got moderate probability, and you've got strong certainty. Just picking the right word from the right category is going to be a game changer for building a credible, believable argument. Okay, let's shift gears and move on to our second major category, using these modals to suggest action. This is all about learning how to perfectly calibrate your tone all the way from some polite advice to a really firm requirement. Here, the really important distinction is between should and must. Should is perfect for giving informed advice. The kind of thing you often see in the conclusion of an essay. It's a solid recommendation. Must, on the other hand, is much stronger. It expresses a non-negotiable obligation. This is the word you pull out when all the evidence points to only one possible course of action.
And this example just illustrates the difference perfectly. The first sentence is offering expert advice. Policymakers should consider this. It's a suggestion. The second sentence, it's much stronger. It's a powerful call to action. Governments have an obligation. They must address this issue. Can you feel that shift in tone? It's all in that one little modal verb.
All right, let's bring it all home now. We're going to put everything we've learned together in what is often the most critical part of your paper, the conclusion. Specifically, that part that gives your readers some food for thought. You know, your conclusion is so much more than just a summary. It's really your moment to show your reader that you've thought deeply about the topic. It's where you discuss what your findings actually imply, where you acknowledge any limitations of your work, and where you make recommendations for the future. And guess what? Modal verbs are absolutely essential for doing this well.
Just take a look at the sentence. It is packed with nuance. It's using all these different modals, and they're all working together to build a really complex analytical point. This right here is what sophisticated academic writing looks and sounds like. Now, let's break down exactly how it's working its magic. Okay, let's tear this apart. First, may introduces a possibility. Then, might not cleverly points out a potential problem or a limitation. Then, the sentence pivots with should to make a crystal clear recommendation. And it all wraps up with will likely, which offers a really strong but still responsibly qualified prediction. This one sentence shows complete mastery of academic tone. It's fantastic. So to help you put this into practice right away, here are 4 key things to just burn into your memory. Number 1, vary your modals. Don't just use will over and over again. 2, back it up. Only use a powerful word like must when you've got the evidence to support it. 3, be precise with should. Know if you're talking about a logical probability or if you're making a recommendation. And maybe most importantly, number 4, actually use them. Don't be shy. They're your best friends in academic writing. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. Mastering modal verbs isn't just a grammar exercise. It's really about learning to think more clearly and more critically. When you force yourself to be precise with your language, you also force yourself to be more precise with your ideas, your evidence, and ultimately, your arguments. And that is how you begin to truly master your academic tone. So my final question for you is this. Think about the paper you're working on right now, or the one you're about to start. What argument will you make stronger using these tools? Thanks so much for tuning in.